Hey everybody, and welcome to the Meet the Owner video on this very beautiful 1974 Jaguar V12 Series 3 E-Type. Now this is a very, very special car, and so special because it's done hardly any miles. It is a museum piece, in my opinion. It's done 8,471.5 miles from new. It's just had one previous owner before Paul, and we'll have a chat to Paul in a sec. And that person was in Canada, and the car came to the UK. How long ago, Paul?
Last summer.
Middle of last summer.
Yeah.
So this is the Meet the Owner video. This is Paul. Say hello, Paul.
Hello.
You know, some of you will already know Paul and seen some of the Meet the Owner videos that we've done in the past. Paul is without doubt the person that knows the most about E-types in the whole wide world, in my opinion. His knowledge is on a different level, having worked, you know, for Jaguar in the past. Paul's semi-retired, and you know, he's got a small collection of Jaguars and does work in his spare time. So, Paul, do you want to have a little chat about this car and why it's so special?
Yeah. Well, so I was offered the car last year from a friend out in Ontario, just a contact someone I've known for many years, and it sounded too good to be true, and I went to see it, brought the car back into the country last year, and after the winter I've had the opportunity to have a really good go through it, and the car hadn't been running since probably the late 80s, something like that. We don't know 100% for sure. I've done very little work to it because I didn't really want to touch it, because every single nut and bolt that gets moved on it is a step away from its originality. Nevertheless, the carburetors have been off, and been through the carburetors, and I've been through the cooling system to an extent. It now starts and runs beautifully, and you know, we both agreed this morning when we started it up that it just sounds amazing.
It really does.
For one of these, I've never heard a car like it. Heard a V12 sound like it's really beautiful. You know, and it's credit to Jaguar that the exhaust system's still in one piece after all these years. Bear in mind, it was mild steel. But yeah, I'm absolutely no doubt in my mind at all the car's an original, very low mileage car. Plus, of course, we know the owner. We have a signed affidavit from the owner saying that he bought the car new in 1974 and that the mileage is authentic. Plus, there are several documents, data points effectively, that demonstrate through over the years how the mileage has developed. Plus, you know, I did concours with a V12 about 20 years ago, but I can remember a lot of the detail of the car, and I can say that this car's got more labels and more features and more bits and pieces on it I've never seen on a car before, just because of it has really never been a car. It's so original.
And I think it was even in the little tanks for the brake fluid. There's little brown labels, isn't there, on top? I've never seen anything like that before.
No, it's got really everything. It's just never been really messed with. Even to the key on the dash. Who leaves a key on the underside of the bonnet? You know, that's where the factory put it, and it's So yeah, it's beautiful. It runs and drives. We've driven it literally only a matter of yards, simply because I really don't want to take it onto the road, because to do that I have to register it in the first owner's name in this country, and it would be a shame to do that because it's one previous owner. But I've no doubt that it would fly through an MOT and would drive beautifully, aside from the fact that the tyres are the tyres it was built with.
So, those are the original tyres that this car came with?
They're original Dunlop SP whitewall tyres that came out of the factory in 1974, including the spare. And obviously, to drive the car, we would need to get hold of a set of slave wheels and put slave wheels and tyres so that it could be driven. But as I said, I don't want to do that because I don't want to register the car in my name. There's no real point. With that mileage, it's obviously not going to fail on anything of any, you know, really shouldn't fail on anything. Everything does work on the car as far as this sort of fairly low-level road test goes, or rather driveway test goes. But yeah, it starts and runs beautifully. It runs up to temperature. The fans come on,
and even the air conditioning works as well. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it?
That was such a shock, really. I turned the air conditioning on to force the fans to work, because it's one way to load the system to check that the fans work before it got hot. And I was so surprised to see it blowing cold air after all these years. It's mad, isn't it?
So a lot of people talk about time warp cars, don't they, and originality, but this is on another level, I think, for me. This is a time warp car, it's as though we've just stepped into a new car almost in the 1970s, isn't it? I mean, the originality is something else.
Yeah, from the Velcro on the carpets to the pins that are used to hold the rear carpets in place, to the sound deadening pads on the floor, the paint under those, just everything. The trunk floor is, all the glue operations that were done in the day, as scruffy as they were, they're still there for everybody to see how it was done in the day.
Paul, you worked at Jaguar Heritage. You've got a long history with E-Types. Have you learnt anything on this E-Type that came out of the factory that you didn't originally know? Is there anything that this car's taught you?
I think mainly sort of the underside of the car for me, because I'd never seen under a car that's never kind of been touched before, 100% for sure. And to see the way the factory dealt with the undersealing, and where there's colour and where there isn't colour, and those sorts of things. Plus, as I said, some of the labelling that I'd never seen before.
So this is truly, when we say it's a one-off car, it is a one-off car. And I'd be very surprised if there's anything like this car in the world, I guess, today, apart from ones that are perhaps sitting in a museum, I guess.
Museum cars,
this is easily, you would say, is a museum car. The new owner will really have to make a choice. It would be like, do they want to drive it? Are you looking for this car and you're going to put new tyres on it and use it almost as a show car, or is it going to be a museum car? Is it one that you just don't want that mileage to creep up, and it almost gets cocooned? So it'd be really interesting to see what the new owner does with this car, I guess, won't it, Paul?
Yeah, and I can help with that if needs be, but I've no doubt that this car would drive beautifully on the road. It would drive as it was built. It really wouldn't be any different, I don't think. The brakes work. And again, I think that's because of lack of condensation and humidity over the years. The brakes, I've refreshed the brake fluid, if I'm honest with you, that's all I've done. And it all works. Everything, there's definitely servo assistance, definitely all four wheels brake. It doesn't seem to pull, and they're actually really sharp. It surprised me. So I think the car's more or less road ready, tyres aside, or at least ready for this next stage. If someone wanted to do that, almost be a shame, but it's up.
It's up to the new owner.
If a person wants a new E-Type near as damn it to an original new E-Type, this is it.
This is the car, So you were talking to me earlier, I think, Paul, just about the American spec bumpers, and that if the new owner did want to put Euro spec bumpers, then you would help them do that.
So in 1970, between 2 and 3, first the rear bumpers were done, and then the front were, so extenders were fitted for safety regulations, and those can easily be removed and refitted with European overriders. So we could do that, and if that was to happen, my recommendation would be take all the original parts, and box them up, label them, box them up, and keep them in the car, and they should stay with the car. And then the car can always go back to that specification, although, as we know, the European spec does look better. So it's an easy transition, wouldn't change all of the bumpers, literally only the overriders. And it would look, to all intent purposes, the same as a Euro spec car does.
And I think you were sort of talking a price around £500 if the new owner
because it would only be the overriders.
But of course, it's important to keep that originality, make sure that we keep the original parts. Even if the new owner wants to change and put new tyres on, these tyres have really got to be kept, haven't they, with the car? Okay, Paul, I tell you what, thank you very much. I've had a really lovely morning consigning this car with you. This is a real one-off car, and I think if I could afford it at the moment, or if I had the garage space, I would certainly be looking to buy this car. It really is one of a kind. So if anybody's got any questions or comments, of course, Paul knows everything there is to know about E-Types. No, he's very modest. He's very modest. He knows everything. Drop a note in the comments, or just give us a call, or drop a note to Paul directly. That's no problem. And we look forward to finding this car, a new buyer, and seeing how they're going to use it or not use it. So, Paul, thank you for your time. Excellent. Thanks, cheers. So, everybody, we've just done the Meet the Owner video. Then we thought we would have a little look in this section and look at how original this is. What were you just pointing out a second ago?
Well, Paul? I've never seen fuse holders like this without corrosion on them. One of the first things you usually have to do with an E-Type because of Lord Lucas Electrical Systems and their unreliability, is to change those out, because they just end up with so much surface corrosion. But they're beautiful. And look at the date code down here. That's fantastic.
It is,
and
isn't
all
it?
the instruments look as though they're stamped up as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if anybody's even ever looked in there before.
We might be the first people to look in here since the car was made.
Yeah, we can see the factory colours, we can see the interior lamp still working, which again is unusual.
Yeah.
And one thing we haven't done is tried the radio. We'll have to do that later.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that is
great.
a piece of history.
The other person is lying, because, you know, if it's, for example, accept the reality of what is happening. Yeah, definitely, and I'm not excusing that, but I'm just saying I can understand how that comes apart.